Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. Before we get started today, I want to remind you guys to go over and take the Promote, Profit, Publish quiz, and it's at www.promoteprofitpublishquiz.com, and take a look at where your visibility skills are at this time. And if you have things that you need to learn and things that you need to create to really get what you want before you publish. So my guest today, I'm super excited about. I met Dave Austin about a year ago at CEO Space, which if you guys aren't a member there, you ought to look into it. It's a great place. But Dave had a book that I downloaded, and it's called Be a Beast. And I thought when I downloaded this book that Dave was a former athlete, and I was going to get a lot of athlete stuff. But that's not what it was at all. It was about the kind of like the animal spirits and how to be really focused and what they're all about. So Dave Austin brings out the best in his clients, many who are elite and professional athletes that you watch on TV every single day. He's a highly sought after mental performance coach who has worked not only at the professional sports level, but at every other level along the way, including being an athlete himself. From little league to the big leagues, from youth sports, high school sports, and all the way through college level and above. These principles not only work on the field, but also go from the locker room to the boardroom, as his work translates exceptionally well for companies, entrepreneurs, and sales teams. And I'll just add here, if you've ever seen him speak, he speaks to solopreneurs all the time. Very, very focused and productive ways that he has to get out in the world and be focused. He's a former professional athlete and a world-ranked tennis player himself, and he knows how to fuel the fire during competition. He's a multi-sport athlete, having played football and baseball at the high school and college level, and he surfed. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. You surfed? So he's not only a best-selling author, he's developed the process, which is a unique method that he helps his clients play in the zone and stay there longer. Dave, welcome. I can't even get to the end of this bio. You can tell us a little bit about who you've worked with, but you've worked with everybody. So welcome.
Well, thank you. Now, I'm passionate about life. It's funny when you hit the surfing part, you didn't know about that. I didn't know we were going to talk about this. This will be just brief, but back in the early days of my life, and my dad was a Navy chaplain. We moved to Hawaii when I was in 8th grade, and I just got very passionate about surfing. I love all sports, but man, being out in the water and that. So I was the original. Laugh in this one. Have you ever heard the term big wave Dave?
No.
That's a term. I see now Big Wave Dave coffee. I see Big Wave Dave Christmas trees. It's just something. But you know what? I was the original Big Wave Dave. And only friends back then know that. So, if someone comes and I see someone and you hear them go, "Hey, Big Wave, how you doing?" You know that they've known me since way back then in college. And when I played tennis in college and that, all my friends called me Big Wave. And, now my kids call me Small Mush.
Oh, that's not true. I've seen your kids around you. They adore you. So the reason that I wanted to have you on the show today was because we're at the beginning of the year. And this is where everybody makes those big, I'm going to do this in 2019. And then it kind of flutters out. So tell us about extreme focus and why it's so necessary, because you had to build your own platform as well, which took time.
Absolutely. And, and sometimes we write the books that we need to read the most, and we learn through that process. And so I've been blessed. I've had 3 books now. My first book came out actually 20 years ago. I can't believe that. And never intended to necessarily be a writer, but I'm so blessed that I've done this. And it's been a journey all the way, but extreme focus is something that, it's interesting. We think of mental performance or the things that I deal with on a daily basis. And the more I do it, the more it's not about a phrase. It's not about a moment. Habits are within us. And if we're going to have any kind of change, it's something we've got to do on a consistent basis. As much as I coach, And as much as I do, and and I work with the Pentagon, I work with Navy SEALs, Army Rangers too, not just businesses. Mental performance is something that's a daily thing you need to do. So that's part of when it's developing the habits, but staying true to habits, because I don't care who you are. I mean, I know for myself, maybe I might look like, gee, I'm successful because this or that. But I've had to go through challenging moments consistently, and I have failed. And you have to be willing to work through failure to get to where you're going. In baseball, I've had 4 Major League Baseball players become MVPs that were stuck in minor league, but they became MVPs in Major League Baseball. And people look, well, they just had a gift. No, they worked their gift. I believe everyone has a gift. But it's a matter of a daily practice and having a method to keep yourself bringing that gift even fuller and brighter. And I know you do a lot on helping people how platforms are so important. And they are important, but you also have to, I think the thing that I have found, you can get almost lost in, gee, is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Is it YouTube? Where should I go? And you have so many people telling you this or that. And I think that, you got to find something that works for you to get started with and be focused on it. That's what extreme focus is say, hey, I'm going to take this and I'm going to develop this aspect and then build upon it. And then maybe you might expand and maybe you won't, because, for me, I guess my notoriety has come more from the speaking world than any place else. I'm not a great marketer online, but I haven't focused on online marketing, right? I've seen a lot of people who have really done a tremendous job. They're out there very, very highly focused on their internet marketing, and it's successful for them because they're focused on it. That's just not an area I have been, but you know what? I've had over 500,000 books be sold of books that I've written, which is, when you look at it, it's pretty significant, but it's been more like a quiet kind of thing, not any kind of major program involved other than just continually getting out there and speaking. And, if you're going to publish a book, I call it, getting legs. You got to get a significant amount of people to see what you've written, right? But you also have to write from a standpoint of that's going to be something that people will say, oh, you should read this book or that you pass on. I think too many people rush into writing a book without taking the time to really develop what it is. I mean, there's a lot of people who teach courses in, get this book out there. And you can just, to me, that's not a book. Anyway, I'll get off.
That's great, because that's one of the ways our company's morphed over the years. Is we started out publishing, and then we got very intentional about looking at books. People brought us and saying, "Why did you write this?" And most of the time, they said because their programs and services weren't selling. Well, that's not the time to write a book. That's the time to get back there and find out who your audience is and what that disconnect is. So I love that you said that. At the beginning of last year, you gave me some advice, and I want you to expound on it because it was amazing advice. I was making a list every day. I had my grateful list. I had my list of my goals. And you actually said to me, how are the 3 ways that, what are you going to be today? And it was write down 3 ways you're going to be. And that was so amazing for me, because then it wasn't about shooting for the goals. It was about how I had to show up in the world. And there were days that I would write those down and realize, like, oh man, I do not feel like showing up today, but I had to anyway. Tell us why you do that as an exercise, because that was really a fabulous exercise.
Well, for me, I think goals are very important, but we can get lost in our goals. We have to, how are we going to achieve our goals? And it gets back to what you said. Who do I need to be? And so I say those 3 things are your intentions. What are your intentions? If I'm going to go deliver a talk to a group of people, I set my intentions. That's more important than anything else. What are my intentions? I might have a goal that I want people to do this or that or whatever. But what's more important is, who would I need to be? And part of that is I really want to connect. And my focus is on connection rather than I'm going to sell this, right? The results take care of themselves if you get in tune. There's a friend of mine who is a remarkable, and I use so many sports analogies because I've been involved in sports for so long, but remarkable guy. He was the MVP in the World Series for the Chicago Cubs 2 years ago when they won the World Series for the first time. And Ben Zobrist is his name, a remarkable baseball player. But he got so, like we all get caught up in the results, that it just takes us away from who we are as a person. So even after he won the MVP, he actually went into kind of a depression because he had met his goals, but where do you go from here? And so 2017 was a challenging year. Then 2018, he decided just to focus more on what you just talked about, is your intentions of who you need to be, and let the results take care of themselves. Still have goals, but focus more in the enjoyment of being present in this moment. And as a result, this year, he was in the top 10 of hitting. He was, probably had the best year in his life in Major League Baseball as far as results, but it was more focused on that aspect of these three things. So anytime I'm working with someone, I said, because if you go, well, I've got 5 things, I got 8 things. Well, let's just focus on these 3. Anything else is a distraction, because I found the only way that I can learn to be successful is I narrow it down. I get really focused. Like, in the home that I live in, I had to get very extremely focused and not have any different, things to distract me. There's a lot of shiny objects. Well, maybe when it becomes difficult, you go, well, maybe I'll go that way. Maybe I'll go this way. And you're constantly chasing. Rather than I said, this is what I plan to do. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it, but I have to be extremely focused to accomplish it. So every day, I had to ask, who do I need to be today? Because there's parts of me that had to change to be able to step into this. And so it was a gradual step that's why I accomplished it, because I allowed myself to go through the full journey of it.
So tell us about that home. I've been to your home. It's beautiful, but I do remember meeting you in December of last year, and the home you were living in the guest house. The home was like the place in front where you were aiming for, and you didn't know. I mean, you shared very transparently, like, I'm here, but I don't know how I'm going to get in there. Can you share a little bit about the journey you and your wife took to get there?
Well, it's a level of commitment you make to your what you want to accomplish. Most people, see, the thing is that we think, oh, we want this. This is what we want. But as we move towards it, we might get very uncomfortable. And then we come back to what we're familiar with, just the standard. I think for myself, I've learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. We moved everything out here saying, we don't know how we're going to do this. But at the time, even when we saw this home, it was so amazing. And I said, I can't look at another home, because we were looking at a lot of different homes, and there's a lot of different directions for us to go. And we just said, all right, I told the realtor, I don't know how I'm going to do it, because I don't hold back things, because I'm just straightforward. I said, but I only know how to do things through extreme focus, and I need to be focused on this. And there's something, do not show me another home. So, but we moved everything out here. Who does that? It's kind of, if you look at us, you might say, your wife and you are crazy.
Yeah.
So focused. And then we have a 2-bedroom cabin on the property that's amazing. And we also have a guest house, but you've got the larger house. And I had this vision that this is where I wanted to do my leadership training. I've got a movie theater in the house. I've got 8, guest bedrooms. I've got the 2-bedroom cabin. I've got that. And it can be overwhelming, but I just kept it simple. What are the little things I can do today? What's one step I can do today? But it took a deep level of commitment, and whatever I had, I put into it, as far as money into it. And you could say, gee, a financial advisor might say, you're crazy. But the only thing I know how to do things is crazy good. I believe in it. And I've had these, if I look back to some of the things that I have accomplished in life, I think also, I was given the Presidential Merit Award from the Grammys. And I never own that because sometimes I think, well, if I got it, it can't be that important. But what I did was very significant. But I look back and I used the same thing there, that we did things that had never been done in the music industry before, ever. And it created amazing things like Live Aid and We Are the World, Hands Across America, because we proved a model that no one said could be done. But it was risky. But we're, again, so focused on seeing that happen. So having that as a background, having my own son, my fourth son, who was given no chance of survival, I kept being reminded that miracles can take place if you live into your miracles. And not be so restrictive on what it's supposed to be. But I was very focused. The mission was to move into the home, and I'm speaking in the office that in that home right now. But it was the only way it could happen. And there were scary moments and crazy moments. And fortunately for me, I have a wife that we're committed together on. So there was times where I was weak, and there's times that she was weak, but we kept together, and that carried us through to where, you know, we have everything that we vision. But I do visualizations, as you know. I visualize, I see it on a consistent basis, because otherwise my subconscious mind is not familiar with it. So it wouldn't allow me to accomplish it because it would get too freaked out. So if I see it enough, I feel it enough, it supports me rather than distracts me from achieving it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is so awesome. And you and I talked a little bit before about, you know, having to be really specific about the intentions, because I shared a little bit. I had something happen this summer where I had been intentionally trying to manifest something, and then it came to me. It came to me, and I was like, "Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Like, it didn't come in the form that I wanted it in." So, can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's really what you help people do, is set those intentions and manifest.
Well, you know, I have a belief that there's a supreme being, whatever you want to call it the universe, call it, for me, it's God, you know, whatever you want to call it, the bigger you. There is something greater than what we limit ourselves to that's available to us. And so because of my faith, it's like Martin Luther King said, and I love this quote, is that faith is when you take the first step of the staircase when you can't see the whole staircase. But as I take one step, it leads me to another step, and my vision becomes more open. I can see things clearer. So because of that faith, sometimes I might be like, this is what I'm going after, but then it looks different. You go, wait a minute, hold it. That's not what I saw. But if I stay true to the faith rather than reject the faith and go, gee, I must have been really crazy, I then keep moving forward and going, oh, this is something better. And I allow that something better to show up, even though I don't see it as better at the moment. I might go, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Well, I turn it over. I call it a surrender. A surrender is something better than me, something greater than me. And any great accomplishment that I've been able and blessed to do has been something that's come through me that's better than me. Because, you know, that's the only way. And so even when it looks like, what in the world is going on? I just trust that what in the world is going on, because I believe it so thoroughly, is better than I could even imagine. Even at this moment, it doesn't look like that. And I work through it, and then I find the gift. I might find the gift in 24 hours. It might take me a freaking year to find the gift. But I stay true to it, and the gift always shows up. I go, oh my gosh, if that hadn't happened, then this wouldn't have happened, and then this wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and that's where I think a lot of people get stuck in, is that's where we talked about going after shiny objects. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like if we think of something, let's say our mind goes, oh my gosh, we get in that creative, oh, I want to bring this forth. And it looks so good. We get so excited. I think in any thought or creation, there's going to be call it a border that brings it into the physical existence. So you get all excited. And as you start getting into it, you hit the border. And that's where people tend to go, oh, this is a little tougher than I thought. And they look to the right and see something. Well, that looks easier. And so they always keep everything below the border. But if you really stay true to this mission and you keep asking every day and keep getting guidance every day, you're able to come through that border, and all of a sudden it comes into the physical existence. And it can be the same as you visioned, or it could be better than you, or a little bit different, but hold true to that vision. And it goes back to, again, who do I need to be today? Keep asking that question. And the reason that I keep doing that every week, what are my 3 intentions this week? Because I got to stay in the present. Whatever happened last week is done. Who do I need to be today? And my biggest gift to myself is to expand and learn more each and every day. Even though I've had a degree of success and I'm considered, say, a top mental performance coach, I'm only touching the tip of the iceberg. There's always something new that I can expand on and learn. And that's one of the biggest joys in life, is to be able to keep expanding, keep learning, and bring more value than I brought yesterday.
That's amazing. And that is one of the things, I work with so many people who are experts, and they're always afraid. They're always a little bit miserly about giving away their best content. And it's like, if you're the professional, if you're the expert, this is going to be old news next week. If you continue to grow, give it away, because, they're going to need your new stuff too. So I love that. Just keep growing and growing and growing every day.
Well, I'm going to say, for your audience out there, when you think, oh, I can't give this away, well, that's a very short-sighted. You're not living in an abundance world. And I've learned so much that if I give it all away, the very best stuff away, the truth is that if they stay in it, they might decide later on to buy the program that I'm already given. Oh, wait a minute. Why would they buy it if I've already given it away to them? I do, these game readies every Monday, which is a form of what I do for high paying clients. But the truth is that, like, even the Beast training, you can go through it, but every time you go through it, you learn something new. Right. That's the aspect. You can change with the same material. It's crazy. It's like, think of some good book, and you read this book. I've done this where I go, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And then maybe something sparks me down the road to read it again. I'm seeing things I never saw. The words have not changed. I've changed.
Right.
So even though you're going to expand and keep growing and have new stuff, even the stuff you already have, people, if they allow themselves, you can't give them enough of it, because you're going to expand even more. Tony Bodo, I don't know if you've met Tony, but he's a remarkable business consultant that I just love him. He is so brilliant. But he went through, we have these Be a Beast 30-day trainings. Mm-hmm. He's gone through, I don't know, we've had 23 of them. He's been through 22. I say, Tony, why do you keep going through it? You know this stuff, right? But he opened my eyes. He says, every time I go through it, I learn something new. And I thought, you know what? Now you say that, every time I deliver it, I learn something new. And he said, I'm the most productive in that 30 days. So that's why I want to do it. And then I started looking back and I go, holy mackerel, I'm the most productive during those times too. Isn't that funny? So life keeps evolving. That's why, going all the way back to what we talked about to begin with, who do I need to be today? Mm-hmm. Who do I, and allow yourself, we have a saying in the Beast training, get there fast by going slow. Means you speed up everything by taking your time. So in the morning, I take the time to get grounded. Rather than letting the day start me, I start the day. I don't take phone calls. I don't take emails. I don't look at anything until I'm in a place that I'm ready to take it on. Then instead of reacting to my conditions, I create my conditions. And even if the conditions are something that might look challenging, I'm in a place of strength to see and look for the gift within it. But if I don't practice it, I don't care how much I talk about this right now. If I don't practice it, you're going to go, Dave, what in the world were you thinking? Well, I probably allowed myself to get caught up, and I didn't allow myself to get that solid foundational piece.
That is so cool. One of my clients has a saying about, are you going to watch the fire or are you going to be the fire? Uh-huh. And that's kind of what you were just saying too. Are you going to react? So do you have a morning practice? I find that most people who are mindset coaches like you are really have a good morning practice that you engage in.
I do. And if I'm completely of the highest honesty, I don't do it every day. But I'm better when I do it every day. That's a discipline. There's a lot of things I do every day, But the complete practice, when you saw me speak at CEO Space, I did something called the process. Do you remember that?
I do, when we went outside.
That process is a game changer in my life. And so I wish I could say I do it every single day, but I don't. But I go through elements of that process every day. The one part that I said that I do every day, that is truth. And that really is a foundational piece. Don't look at anything. Don't do anything. Get quiet and allow yourself to receive. But when I do the process every day, which is a little bit more involved, but I also then walk in the woods here because, Emerson said, we want true wisdom, take a walk in the woods. And I have found there's brilliance connecting to nature. But that takes, sometimes I say, well, I'm too busy. I'm too this. But my greatest advancements come from slowing down and actually taking the time to do it. And yet here I'm telling you, and I preach it so well, but do I live it as well? Almost. But, there's always a degree. But I'm not here to, that's the other thing, is not to beat myself up, but is to say, hey, Dave, how integrity is such a big word, your word and all that. So, for me, I live it, I breathe it, but I'm not perfect.
Well, I don't think any of us are, but I think what works there, though, is the awareness when we can look back at the end of the day and say, what happened today? What am I grateful for? And whoa, look how that went because I didn't do my morning practice, so I better do it tomorrow morning. I find that a lot. And by the way, for those of you thinking about where in the world does Dave walk in the woods, it's Utah. And I live in Utah too, and I love the woods here. I can go out my back door and go 50 miles in the mountains running, and isn't it amazing?
It's absolutely mind-boggling. I never thought I could leave Southern California, and I love Southern California, but I always did my process, I always did my thing at the ocean. That's what was so, that brought me to where I am today. The fact that we live in Utah, which is away from the ocean, I thought I could never do it, but the mountains and the woods here are so inspiring. In fact, someone said, well, why did you move here? I said, well, we should be able to hear God's voice anywhere. There just seems to be a better speaker system here. My writing and the stuff has just blossomed. And it doesn't mean that I don't still love Southern California and I love going back, but I truly have learned to love being here. And, like yesterday, I went skiing because I could, and being on the mountain, and it's just so exhilarating. And just, I just live in awe of the beauty of it all. And when when it's not ski season, the autumn, to go back in the canyons and walk and see the colors, I go, oh my God, this is incredible. And it just opens my eye to live in that, what I call just appreciated state. If you appreciate something, it goes up in value. If you don't, it goes down in value. So I want to bring appreciation every single day and bring my life to be more meaningful and more valuable. And so I will give you, if it's all right, I'll give you a little tips for someone, real simple to do. But that which is easy to do is easy not to do. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So as we, what you feed your mind will grow. What you starve will die. So what do you really want to feed it? So just a little practice at the end of the day, as you go to bed, write 3 wins of the day. Just so your mind is starting to focus on, sometimes we maybe had a challenging day, but if we keep our mind focused on our wins, it's not like we're stuffing the challenge, but we're putting ourselves into another, say, energy level of where just things happen. So you end the day with just writing 3 things, 3 wins. So you reflect upon, hey, you know what? Today I did this. So your mind is starting to focus more on your advancement rather than your setbacks, right? Then when you get up in the morning, a simple thing to do is what I just said is don't do anything until if you have a ritual. My ritual is very simple. I get up, I don't look at anything, I shower, I get up and I have a cup of coffee. You don't need to do that. Some people say that's not good for you. I find it fine for me. It works for me. And I get quiet. I just get quiet and take my own little quiet time. Now I feel like I'm building strength in taking on whatever I'm going to take on. It's a whole different way of operating. That's the most simplest form. What I would love to do even more, which I do, which I already said that I didn't do it every day, is the process. The whole process takes me about an hour. But when I do that on a regular basis, my life is better for it. But I still have to convince my mind that you have an hour to spend. Isn't that funny? It can be so successful. My greatest advancement comes, but I still have to convince myself. Say, take the time to do this.
Right? So even Dave Austin has monkey mind going on sometimes. That was a pretty vulnerable share, Dave. So where can we find you, your books, and when is your next program or event coming up that people can look into?
All right. So extremefocus.com is the name of, my webpage. The Be a Beast book that you mentioned is available. You can go to beabeastbook.com. You go directly to it, or you can find it on the Extreme Focus webpage too, and click in. It takes you to Amazon. I have, it's funny. I've written 3 books. I mentioned that the number of sales that I've been blessed to have in books. But the biggest seller, believe it or not, this is kind of funny, is a book I never planned to write. But my agent said, "Oh, you're the perfect person." I'm not the perfect person. And we had this big kind of argument, believe it or not. And then I went, "Well, wait, what did you say the advancement was?" All right. So I went, let me think about this. And I called a very dear friend of mine and said, "Hey, would you like to co-write this with me? Because you're so perfect for this, but I've got the gig." And it's Songwriting for Dummies, which that alone has sold, 500,000 copies around the world. And I just Googled it a little while back. It's like the 3rd most successful book in the music and songwriting ever written, which is crazy to think. But it wasn't even something I had planned. But it came out of my first book, where it was called The Unfinished Cross, Listen to the Voice Within. And that book, which you probably don't even know about, I don't talk about it much because it's a deeply spiritual book. It was my 4th son was given no chance of survival, medically impossible to come into this world. And because of my experience of getting quiet and listening, I would write what I would hear. And medically, he's 20 years old today. And medically, it was impossible. In fact, so I wrote that first book, never intending to be an author, but how did it get out there? I had to go out and speak. That's what I knew how to do. And I went across the country, and I committed myself to that. And that was 20 years ago. So that was before you had all the online things, right? So I committed myself to going out and doing this message. And then, as it turned out, 5 years later, Hollywood made a TV special out of it because it was so powerful, the message. And but I backed away a little bit from it, to be honest. So why you've never heard of it is because I was doing the U.S. Olympic team. We're going to the World Cup, and the coach comes up and goes, "Hey, I love your book, but don't tell anybody about it," because it's such a deeply spiritual book. And as I started working with big companies, I'm going, the CEO space knows that I just download everything I do. They might, so I got a little shallow for a while and got a little uptight, but now I'm opening up going, that is the greatest gift. And the Be a Beast book, the elements there that is more accepting across all channels would have never happened if the Unfinished Cross didn't come first. So I'm kind of allowing myself now to speak about it, and it's kind of having a new life of its own. But I see, now it goes back to what you do. That book became a bestseller because I was out working it. And then as I got bashful about it, after about 5 years, I go, okay, because not everyone accepted the book, because it's kind of taken all the fear out of the Bible and just showing nothing but love and positive, message that just came through my experience. Mm-hmm. And so I backed away and I kind of hid the book. And the moment I stopped promoting the book, it was gone. It's amazing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It became a bestseller only because I was actively doing something. And so it's not that I'm going to get that active about that book again now, but it's kind of coming back. People are kind of coming to me. They're finding the book, and I go, so I'm going like, okay, and I'm braver now than I was back then. And I see the connection, even with the Be a Beast and the Unfinished Cross, how connected they are. Mm-hmm. One's a deeply spiritual book. The other one is a mindset that people read because of the Olympics, because of the NFL things, the Major League Baseball, or the Army, Navy that I've worked with on mindset, they'll accept it. But the truth of it is, it all is divinely guided, and I'm willing to say that because it is. And I get like, well, will people think I'm woo-woo by saying that? Well, think what you think. Call it whatever you want to call it. It's my truth.
Okay, good. And it worked. So there you go. Dave, thank you so much for sharing all this today. I think it's going to be really helpful for people who are, kind of getting to the end of January and February and going, oh, where's my inspiration gone? I started out so well. So I think this will be real helpful, and I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you. And let me just say one last thing, because of what you just said. We do get so fired up, January and February, and then where does it go, right? And I think goal setting is very important. Some people now, it's been popular, oh, don't set goals. I think set goals, but go back to what we said about who you need to be. But, and I think timelines are important. But if I had a vision of the house that I live in now 15, 20 years ago, if I'd ever stopped the vision because, I didn't achieve it, I wouldn't be here now. So give yourself some grace. I had one client that said, hey, we had a goal to meet this number. We didn't even come close. But because they had that goal, they shifted into being something better than they ever were. And now that goal is much more attainable. Mm-hmm. So don't let if you look back at 2018, I didn't achieve this, I'm not going to set anything. No, set it, but keep the mission going. It took me 20 years, or I don't know how long it's been, that I had this vision of where I live now. I didn't know it was going to be Utah, I'll be honest with you.
Well, we're glad you're here. So, all right. Thank you so much, Dave.